Welcome to the show. How's everybody doing today?
It's the Phantom of the Forest.
The Phantom of the Forest, coming to you from the Flint Bike Trail. Isn't it lovely?
It was about that picture was taken about this time last year, I think, or the year before.
Nice. Yeah. Cool. Custom photo from John here at All Points TV. How's everybody doing today? I'm your host, Jeremy. This is the Genesee County Compassion Club show, and we're having some fun today in the studios, obviously. It is now October, officially October 2nd, and the leaves are changing. I'm changing. No, just kidding. Yeah, this is a beautiful thing. Happy day to everybody out there. I'm going to share some good stuff with you. Let you guys know what's been happening down at the Genesee County Compassion Club. Get you guys up to speed on what's been happening in the news with marijuana. And, man, I'm glad to be here. How you doing, John? Got John in the studio with me today?
Yeah, I'm doing real well. I mean, I got sleep last night. The night before, I didn't sleep.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's good.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's always good to
when
sleep,
you don't get
man.
sleep. Whew.
The world changes on you when you don't
for
sleep.
sure.
Yeah, it's
I
just
feel
hard
so
to deal
bad
with.
for folks that struggle with it all the time. You know
That's
what I mean?
the past 4 days I've had it. So
Wow.
yeah.
No, I know some folks that they always struggle with sleeping, and I don't necessarily take it for granted because I get a good night's sleep, but I'm very thankful.
Yeah, but you got a very busy schedule.
Indeed.
You do. You wore yourself out, I think.
I do. I physically do wear
Yeah.
myself out, but I'm just even so, I'm thankful that I get a good night's sleep.
You know, not having
doesn't happen.
not having aches and pains, and then be able to sleep. People just take that for granted, and down the road they're going to regret taking it for granted.
Yeah,
They are.
Yeah, there's something to be said about that whole aches and pains thing because you're right. There's a lot of folks out there that they deal with aches and pains and so on, and I think a lot of times you can look at somebody who, like myself, and might think oh, that guy doesn't have aches and pains, and I self-induce aches and pains so that I don't have other aches and pains, and it's a choice that I make, and I know that not everybody gets to make that choice, so I don't want to imply that either, but some of those self-induced pains can help prohibit some of the other pains, and so there's that. But at any rate, I'm just the man in the trees. All right. Anyways, I want to share with you guys what we got going on at the club. We have some awesome stuff going on, man. It is October. It's one of my favorite times of the year, if you didn't already realize that. But it's hunting season for all you hunters out there. All I got to say is check your camo. All right. Yeah, you can't match my camo. But good luck out there. Everybody be safe. And all right, let's get on with the announcements. We had a good soup kitchen. Had a full service going on there. Mr. Matt cranked it up, and our volunteers showed up and helped out. I want to say thank you very much to our volunteers who show up and make that happen. I know there's a handful of you that are consistent, and then we keep getting a couple fresh faces in there, so that's cool too. But thank you very much for everybody who shows up and makes that happen. Again, thanks to everybody who showed up and helped us out on the Adopt a Highway. That was awesome. Thank you very much. And we do have our soup kitchen coming up here again. It is always the third Tuesday of the month, and we're serving lunch. All right. Adopt a Highway is done for the year, so you won't have to worry about that for a while. Other things that we've got coming up here is our trunk or treat, and this is October 27th. It's a Sunday. It's for the whole community. It's out in the parking lot. It's going to be, if you haven't done a trunk or treat before, this is where you decorate your car, dress it up like Halloween, and the kids go through a line, and you open up your trunk, have full of candy, right? So the G3C has been working with, I got to give props to our good friends over at the Catholic Charities, the Soup Kitchen people, who help us out and hooked us up with awesome deals on candy. We're trying to get as much as possible. So if you can help us out with that, we love it. If you can show up, participate, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's a Sunday, and again, it's open to the public. It's one of the few chances that we have as a club to get out a little bit into the community and just have some fun, and then share that, spread that around, and show people there's nothing to be scared of, that we're regular people, so on and so forth. It's just a good, fun thing to do. Bring your family, bring your friends, bring your kids, of course. We're going to have a ton of food and candy and fun out there. October 27th, make sure you mark it down, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys there. All right. Obviously, all in mind with October and Halloween, we have the G3C Halloween party on Halloween. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be spooky. It's going to be great. It's part of being a member. There's no additional fee or anything like that. You just show up with your membership and we're going to have a blast, all right, all day long. Going to be prizes, decorations, all kinds of stuff. You know how we do it down at the G. We have a great time every time, and it's going to be no different this time. So make sure you come down on Halloween. I believe Halloween's a Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. So what else are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Get down there during the day, sneak out from work, whatever you got to do. Get out from the garden, come on down, have fun with us, okay? All right. Other thing I did want to mention, we just renewed this, and we've been doing this, I think, for like, I don't know, at least 5 years, maybe longer. And it is our Genesee County Humane Society cage sponsorship that we do. And this is awesome, all right? You guys as a club, you sponsor a cage down at the down at the Humane Society for a year, and it provides all the food and the care and toys and everything that you can provide monetarily, whatever that cage needs. And obviously the cage is going to have different animals in it throughout the year, not the same one, same poor little animal, hopefully. But as animals get in there, we help sponsor that. You guys do that. Thank you. All right, you guys just sponsored up for another year. It's like $1,500, so it's not cheap. It's not the end of the world, but it is a financial commitment that you guys do, and I want to say thank you. So, and I know there's a bunch of little furry critters out there that thank you as well. Sincerely, it's a wonderful thing. So
I can never go down there. I'd end up with 90% of the animals back in my house. I just avoid it.
Yeah.
Because I just can't go out by cages full of faces. I'm allergic to cats too, and I'd probably bring some of them home. I mean,
you would rip out your lymph nodes.
Oh God, it would.
Yeah.
I mean, it's horrible. I'm so allergic to them. And I don't understand it. Why people say to me, well, I'm going to put my cat up. I know you don't like them. No, I love cats. I'm allergic to them. I don't know how they translate being allergic to hating cats.
Yeah,
or something.
Yeah.
I never understood people hated cats. And that's a guy thing, too. A lot of guys hate cats, and they think it's really cool to hate cats. I never understood that.
Yeah, I don't really understand that either. All right. Member meeting. We've got our member meeting this Friday. You guys want to show up for that? Don't miss it. And also game night. Game night on Tuesday down at the club. So we've had Sorry, Uno, and Yahtzee. And I don't know what next Tuesday is, but if you're there, you're going to find out. So, but it is fun. It's a good night. Good time to get out of the house, get away from everything, shut off for an evening. Nice relaxing environment, and grab a bite to eat, have a little smoky smoke, play a little card game, whatever it is we end up doing. So join us on Tuesday nights for game night. All right. Other than that, man, it's always a good time down at the club, so make sure you get down there, check us out. We got that fire, and man, them outdoor people are starting to get it trimmed up, so we're starting to see some of that wonderful goodness come in as well. So, all right, other stuff. Let's move on to the news. I've got some things I wanted to get you guys up to speed on. We've had some events happen, believe it or not, and without further ado, let's dive into it. So, first thing I'll bring up, it's not quite as big, but Mitch McConnell. All right, you guys know who this is, Turtle Man. People call him all different kinds of names. He's a senator, right? Senate leader.
Yeah, I believe it is.
Senate Majority Leader from Kentucky. This guy's got, he's got power in a bag, right? We don't know. I think it's turtle power. That's what it is. He's got that turtle power.
No, I got the Teenage Mutant
That's
Turtle.
That's what I'm saying. I didn't recognize it till now, but he's like...
Well, I wonder which one he is, incognito. He had to take that shell off. That would have to be excruciating.
I'm going to have to go with Leonardo, I think.
Okay.
Or maybe Donatello. I don't know.
He was more in your time frame. Those guys
were. And Mitch McConnell is definitely not cool enough to be any one of the turtles. All right, I'm just going to say that right now. In my book, Mitch McConnell is a lot more like Shredder. All right? The guy is... I don't like him. All right, he can go back to Kentucky, crawl in some freaking cave, his little turtle shell, and never freaking come back. And he's an idiot. All right, turtles are usually wise. I think of turtles as being like the tortoise and the hare. As a child, you grow up, you're told the story about the tortoise. He just keeps plugging along, and he gets across that fence. Yeah, and another thing, like I would not give Mitch McConnell the satisfaction of being compared to a turtle. He doesn't deserve it. Anyways, he wants a bill. Get this. He wants a bill to make it somehow distinguishable for DEA agents to be able to tell the difference between hemp and marijuana. So think about that for a second, okay? He wants a bill, a piece of legislation, a law. He wants a law to make it distinguishable between hemp and marijuana. Am I the only person here who's still got his head on his shoulders? I mean, that is you're trying to make a law to control nature. Or to at least control the ability to distinguish nature from nature. How on earth do you even ask for that kind of a thing? This is preposterous. This is something that they're trying to come up with. Obviously, there is an issue going on where you have federally legalized, in a sense, quasi-legalized hemp production in the United States. It's going on all over the country. It's a thing. It's happening. It's good. And they're saying, well, how do the DEA agents tell the difference between these legal hemp plants and these still illegal marijuana plants? And yeah, it's unfortunate that in some cases there's certain varieties of hemp, you cannot tell really the difference between that and a marijuana plant. All right, physically, you might not be able to tell the difference. So first of all, let me clarify and just let you know, that is a legitimate thing, and that can be, I guess I don't want to say it's an issue. I mean, in the government's eyes, it's certainly an issue, but obviously, nature is what nature is, right? Okay, so yes, they do look alike in some cases, but I mean, a legal garden or something that is legal, especially something in this case where, let's say a hemp farmer has gone through the process of getting licensed and is now producing hemp, full well knowing that it was formerly illegal, that its counter cousin plant, marijuana, is illegal. There's certainly going to be distinguishable traits just simply in the agricultural production of that plant that would distinguish it as a legal propagated item from something that is illegal. All right? I mean, to have a law that says these need to be made distinguishable is preposterous. And to think that you even need it just reiterates my personal feelings about Mitch McConnell. All right? So at any rate, yes, he wants to have this bill. It blows my mind that you'd even have the Senate Majority Leader, mind you. This guy is in charge of the most powerful body of government that we have, one of them. All right? And he's asking for this. And mind you, he's from Kentucky, so he is not, he's not uneducated, I want to say, or unaware of hemp, because Kentucky has hemp production. It's well known for it. It's been doing it for a while. It's a leader in hemp production in the United States. And he's from that state. So he no doubt has experience and knowledge of that industry. It seems like his proposals would echo some of that information, but unfortunately it doesn't seem to have done so, made itself that way. All right, let me see if I can pull this up for you. Let's show more detail. Some of the things that he was trying to request, I was just shocked at. He wanted, one of the things, I'll give you an example. Here it is. He wanted to have on-site capability to be able to do a test to decipher whether or not this was a qualifying hemp plant or not. So, I mean, for those of us that have some type of, and I'll be the first to tell you, I'm not a scientist, okay? But we do have some knowledge. Most people that are in the cannabis industry have some knowledge of what is going on involving testing. All right. In other words, the machinery that it takes, the time that it takes to process, the facility that's required to be able to do this in the proper environment, so on and so forth. And Mitch McConnell thinks that somehow we can just come up with a handheld unit and just onto the plant, and yeah, it's going to spit out results and tell us, A, is this hemp, or B, is this something else? Some cousin to hemp that doesn't qualify. Mind you, one of the major factors right now that the government is using to determine whether or not something falls into the hemp category or not is its THC volume. All right, so 0.03% right now is the federal threshold for hemp plants. If your plant has more than that amount, It does not qualify as industrial hemp under the U.S. code, whatever, whatever. And it's now marijuana. It's illegal. It has to be destroyed. Okay? There's people right now in Michigan that are growing their hemp plants, and they've sent them in throughout the growing process. Will do so after it's done, and are doing a legal hemp grow, and they have to verify throughout that entire grow and afterwards that that plant is never above 0.03% THC. That is a determining factor to tell the government whether or not it's hemp or marijuana. But that is not the real factor in determining whether or not it is hemp or marijuana. There are other things involved. Hemp is produced for multiple different things. There are different types of hemp that are used to produce those different types of things. And they look different when they're growing. So this is something that is poorly misunderstood. And we have the Senate Majority Leader proposing law on something that it's an infant of an industry right now. And again, this is something that other industrialized nations around the world have been doing for eons, have billions of dollars invested into. We do not need to reinvent the wheel here on this, folks. We just need to look across the border and say, how do you guys do it? It's not that difficult. Quit wasting money. That's what this is. It's a waste of money. Probably somewhere down the road, Mitch McConnell's hooked into some company that sells some gadget that tells them they can get this thing done. And it's probably BS. All right, and to reiterate my point, we're going to go on to the next story, okay? Roadside testing. Right here in Michigan, okay? You guys have heard about this. And in fact, actually today, let me pull this up for you. Today, the roadside testing resumes. This is by your Michigan State Police. And of course, they're looking for buzzed, drugged, impaired, drunk, whatever you want to call it, people that shouldn't be driving. They're looking for people like that, okay? The problem is, how do you determine that, okay? And obviously in Michigan, we've got a pretty good system locked down for alcohol. So we don't need to talk about alcohol. What we do need to talk about, though, is marijuana, because there's no real way to figure out whether somebody's high or whether or not they just have this stuff floating around in their system still from the night before or 2 weeks ago or a month ago, whenever it was. What we need to figure out is whether or not they are impaired, not necessarily what's in their bloodstream. And I think that should be our emphasis and our focus. And I'm getting to my summary before I get into the article, but let me get you to what I'm talking about here. And what this is the roadside testing, of course, proposed by the police. Open up the article here. And this is from, let me share this with you guys. Click on Detroit.com. You can check this out. So, according to police, Michigan has seen a steady increase in fatal crashes involving drivers impaired by drugs in recent years. In 2018, they say there were 247 drug-involved traffic fatalities. So, not good. We definitely don't want to have that. It says, during the trial period between November 2017 and November 2018, state police said officers conducted 92 oral tests and 74 came back positive for marijuana. However, 5 of the positive tests came back as false positive after a blood test. In 2018, the Michigan legislature agreed to support the ongoing funding of the oral fluid pilot and the expansion of the pilot program to additional interested qualified counties around the state. Listen to this. An appropriation of $626,000 for the extension of the oral fluid roadside analysis pilot program was included in the supplemental funding bill that became a public act in 2018. So here's how it works. Under the pilot program, a drug recognition expert, which is going to be one of your state police officers, will require a person to submit to a preliminary oral fluid analysis to detect the presence of a controlled substance in the person's body if they suspect the driver is impaired. The DRE, which is I just told you, will be conducted on the person's oral fluid by obtaining a mouth swab. Okay? So let's stop there and let's review, all right? So basically, they get to do a roadside test. If they think you're impaired, they're going to do a swab, and the swab is what they're using to figure out if you're supposedly impaired by marijuana, THC. It also tests for amphetamines, benzodiazepines, benzos, cocaine, methamphetamines, and opiates. So it tests for other things as well. All right. Now, let me back up here a little bit and give you some information on how these swabs work for marijuana. Okay. I'm not talking about the other drugs. I don't know about the other drugs. I'm only talking about marijuana and swabs. All right. According to their own data, the tests are 6.7% inaccurate. That represents almost 7 out of every 100 people who are accused of having THC in their system. They don't have it. So just like their article reported, they had 5 false positives when they did the blood test.
They're going to go trust people who can't even get the license plate number down when they're writing a ticket with something that possibly can cause somebody some serious legal hassles.
Yeah,
okay,
well,
that's fine.
Obviously this is a violation of people's rights, accusing them of something that they're not, and giving them false evidence, false supporting evidence to support their claims, when the real issue is the impairment. All right, we have spent, and just in this portion here, it's probably well over $1 million, but just in this portion here, $646,000 to extend the program so we can have more swabs from more counties, resuming today, people, to check you whether or not you actually have these substances in your body. And again, this is at the officer's discretion to do if he finds or thinks that you've been or are impaired. It's a waste of money. All right? It's a waste of money. If the officer thinks you're impaired, there's plenty of tests that they can do, physical, verbal, whatever it may be. We don't need to have this backup baloney that can get overthrown in court, that is inaccurate, that oftentimes just costs more money to administer than it does actually to have a good effect out of. And what are we doing? We're supporting some baloney company that makes baloney tests. All right, just like Mitch McConnell is probably wanting to support some baloney company that makes some baloney taser that tells him whether or not his plant's hemp or marijuana, when what he really ought to be doing is talking to the DEA about changing the rules on whether or not marijuana is legal or not. That would make the most sense. But no, our Senate Majority Leader is trying to make deals, pork barrel his buddies. It's BS. All right? Next subject. Let's move on. Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania wants to come up with their own, let me get back to the other page here, state-ran recreational marijuana program. Let me pull this up here. If I can find the article again. Now, mind you, they have a very limited medical marijuana program. I think it was ran, if I'm not mistaken, it was definitely ran through the state, but also I think through their hospitals and universities, similar to how New York was set up. But now they just one day ago introduced a bill to have a state-run model introduced in Pennsylvania. This is, again, just a bill that's been introduced. It would allow adults 21 and older to possess, consume, cultivate, and purchase cannabis through state stores run by the Liquor Control Board. So, I don't want to get into much more detail than that, but that's basically what's going on in Pennsylvania. All right, there we go. Let's talk about the vape ban. All right, because this is going to continue to go on and on and on, and I do feel that medical marijuana is going to be involved in this somehow. I know that they're talking about verbiage of what it includes, what it doesn't include. I've actually heard it both ways, where people said it does include flavored vape carts for medical marijuana. I've had some people say it doesn't include that. So I'm not going to tell you either way. I'm not an attorney, and I'm not going to claim to know. I'm certainly not, law enforcement or anything else like that. So sorry, I'm not much help on that. My opinion is my stuff that I create for my patients is only for my patients, and I'm going to create whatever it is they ask me to create. That's what I'm going to do. And if a judge wants to tell me, my patient can't have this or that, I guess we'll have to wait till we get in front of the judge, because, ultimately, my contract, according to the state, is to provide my patients medication and for their medicinal use. And basically that means whatever they ask when it comes to their medication. So at any rate, it gives me the ability to do that, I think. someone at a dispensary or whatever, that might be a different story. But okay, moving on here. Sorry, not moving on, but I want to get into the judges because there was an attorney, a group of people. They tried to file. If I can find this article here, they tried to file something temporarily, at least putting off the effect of the ban. When does it go into effect? The governor's ban on flavored vape materials, and I believe the judge blocked that motion that was made. I'm trying to find it for you. Give me just a second here. I hate autocorrect. No, not on Cape ban. Vape ban, damn it. There we go. This is in the Detroit News. State judge denied an Upper Peninsula resident's request to immediately halt Governor Whitmer's ban on flavored vapes. Scheduled to take effect Wednesday. Today. Look at that. The Court of Claims Judge Cynthia Stevens plans to hear arguments requesting a preliminary injunction on the ban as soon as Tuesday afternoon in Petoskey. Federal judge also refused to act quickly in a second lawsuit. Let's see here. It says Mark Sliss, owner of the 906 Vapor Shop in Houghton, filed the lawsuit last week against Whitmer and the State Department of Health and Human Services and announced the rules in September, blah, blah, blah. Siles asked last week for a temporary restraining order, which would immediately stop the implementation of the ban, and a preliminary injunction, which would stall the prohibition for still longer. The case was moved by the Attorney General's office, Dana Nessel, from the Houghton County Circuit Court judge to the Michigan Court of Claims, where lawsuits against the state are typically handled. On Monday, Nessel's office asked the judge, an appointee of Democratic former Governor Jennifer Granholm, to deny the motion for preliminary injunction, noting the dangers of sweet-flavored e-cigarette products marketed toward children. She says, in quotes, cotton candy, bubblegum, gummy bear, any adult knows that if you want to get a child's attention, there is no enticement like candy. The rules are entirely appropriate and justified, she says, considering the emergence of vaping as a public health epidemic, the filing says. Requiring a vapor shop to take a timeout from selling flavored nicotine vapor products until those products can be more comprehensively reviewed, studied, and regulated does not warrant the extraordinary issue of a temporary restraining order, the document said. So anyways, whatever. You can read the rest of the article for yourself if you want to on the Detroit News. But basically, yeah, someone tried to put an injunction in that would temporarily ban the ban or stop the ban, and the judge said no. And then the Attorney General stepped in, said we're taking it out of this court to the next court. Court of Claims also basically said the same thing. So it appears the ban will stand. It goes into effect, as the article states, today, to my understanding. It is on cigarette products from what I can see. I don't see anything. I haven't seen anything that relates to marijuana, medical marijuana for that matter. So I will assume that it is for nicotine or tobacco cigarette products. And I mean, like I said before, when I first talked about this, I think this whole thing is bigger than Granholm. The president came out talking about it a few days later. News networks across the nation, national networks started talking about this thing. I think it's a well-coordinated effort. And no, I don't think it's right. I don't think it's right at all. I'm sick and tired of the government telling people what they can do with their own bodies. It's ridiculous. It needs to stop. And I cannot believe that people aren't more up in arms about this. I know that there's a very limited segment of the population out there that probably uses this product. So there's not a lot of people to stand up and support the businesses or support the consumer for that matter. But at any rate, we should all be standing up and supporting our personal protections of freedoms. And the government continues to whittle away at these, and we continue to just swallow it. So, all right, let's move on here. Flint, this is a small thing here, but I thought it was interesting, especially after the ban, or not, I don't want to say ban, but we talked about this, that Flint basically did not approve anything for the rec marijuana businesses. Nothing's going to happen right now, so nothing's going to happen. But they did take a look at a medical marijuana facility that wanted to revamp a currently vacant building. I believe the building was located on South Dort Highway. But at any rate, the Flint Council approved the rezoning for that facility so that that place could go ahead and move forward with getting their licenses for their medical marijuana facility. And I thought at least it showed that the body there was active and trying to do something. I don't know if this necessarily would give them a free pass in my book, or forgiveness for that matter, but at least something positive occurred. So at any rate, there it is. All right. What else I want to cover here? Oh yeah, the Michigan budget. All right, folks. I wanted to get into this a little bit. I wanted to share with you because when I read it, I was blown away. And actually, I mean, blown away is probably an over-exaggeration because of the fact that I've come to expect this from our state government. But I wanted to share this with you because I think it's outlandish. And the budget, to my knowledge, John, do you know, they haven't approved the budget yet, have they? They're still fighting.
Yeah, that's what I think. Last I saw on something that was like she's trying to do some kind of tactic to get the Republicans back to the table or something.
Yeah,
that's what I heard. Yeah.
So, and I don't want to get into the overall budget because honestly, I'm just not the guy for that. I'm not well educated enough to really have a conversation about whether they should or shouldn't do, or whether who's good or who's bad. But what I will talk about extensively today is the budget allocations for marijuana in Michigan, because I think it is outlandish. I think it is out of control. And I think it is representative of the rest of the government, the rest of the state government, how the bodies work, how just the bureaucracy adds up, and obviously we need to have regulation. I don't have a problem with that, but I think there needs to be limits to that, and government is not in the business of limiting itself. This is clearly front and center from these numbers. So let's get into this a little bit. I think, again, this is a small snapshot of what's going on with our state's budget. I think it is a good representation. I think it exactly explains why your roads look like the way they do. I think it exactly explains why your schools are in the poor conditions that they are. And it is a perfect picture, really, of how our state government works. So here we go. Michigan budget, when you first look at it, at first, what they're trying to do, or at least what's been proposed so far, okay, for marijuana, at first line item, as we'll say, $6 million set aside by HB 4239. Now, HB 4239 is basically the budget, okay? So we don't want to get too technical here, but on that budget, $6 million set aside specifically for the administration of recreational marijuana in Michigan. Let me pull this up here so I don't get too far ahead of myself. But yeah, $6 million. Okay. Now, in addition to that, 30 full-time employees. Okay. And mind you, again, this is just for recreational marijuana in Michigan. This is not dealing with the medical or the Medical Marijuana Facilities Act, for that matter. And it is kind of interesting because the state's taken liberty to divvy up funds as if there's three different things going on. So they're treating this as the recreational marijuana, medical marijuana facility marijuana, and original medical marijuana. That's how the state looks at this. And that's how they're budgeting and allocating your tax money to administer your regulation of marijuana in Michigan, okay? So that's basically what they're doing. So at this new program that we're about to roll out, right, recreational marijuana for 21 and over, they have dedicated $6 million for that, and 30 full-time employees just at the State Department level, okay? That doesn't include the additional police officers that the Medical Marijuana Facilities Act funded for, the police officers that they decided to give themselves. So that's just 30 full-time employees to administer things at the state government level, all right? I'm not exactly sure what they're going to be administering, but it gets 30 people, gives a budget for 30 employees, okay? And give me just a second to pull this up here. Here we go. Okay, so sorry about that. $6 million over here. The next thing is Medical Marijuana Facilities Act. They got to administer that as well. It's already been rolling for a little bit, and it's obviously going to continue. But they do consider it something different. Guess how much they budgeted for that? $10.8 million. $10.8 million just for that. That doesn't include the $6 million, okay? $10.8 million, 95 employees. Doesn't include the 30 that I just mentioned. 95 employees to manage the Medical Marijuana Facilities License Act. That means the medical marijuana facilities, processors, growers, trackers, blah, 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 blah. 10.8 million and 95 employees. Not done yet. Still have the original medical marijuana program that they have to continue operating. Printing out them patient and caregiver cards is not easy. And it's going to cost the taxpayer $5 million. $5 million on top of 10.8, on top of 6. And we're not done yet. Let me just add, okay? I went to public schools. This is going to take a while. All right. Oh, hold on. I'm not done yet. Jeez, oh, Pete. It's like $22 million. Hold on, I'm not done yet. In addition to those 3 departments, state also wants $20 million to support trials and research on marijuana. Another $20 million bucks on top of the 6, on top of the 10.8, on top of the 5. Anybody adding this up yet? We're at 42 right now if you're not keeping track. Plus another $3 million for operations and oversight. We're just going to put that on the top there in case anything happens. Have us a nice little cushion in case we need to dip into a rainy day fund. You know what I'm saying? Let's go with $3 million. Nobody gonna mind $3 million. Put that on the budget, Bob. $3 million. So we're at $45 million, folks. 44.8. Oh, and one more thing. We'll just so we don't have to dip into our other budgets, let's create a separate little fund for flyers and videos to tell people about the new marijuana stuff that we got here in Michigan. Let's just go ahead and set aside 10 grand. They literally wrote that crap down in their budget, 10 grand to produce flyers and videos on top of the $44.8 million they've already asked for. Are you kidding me? You know, when we asked for regulation, when we said, hey, marijuana could be a economic booster in the state could, you know, collect some money and maybe fix the roads, right? That's what we said. But no, the state's going to go ahead and fix themselves. They're giving themselves jobs, blowing themselves up. We got 95 employees to manage at the state level the Medical Marijuana Facilities Act, plus another 30 employees to do that. Plus you have additional police officers that were automatically hired on as a part of the Medical Marijuana Facilities Licensing Act. I believe that was like 20, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it was more. I mean, we're talking about a very large, they've created themselves their own entire empire, okay, of government bureaucracy to manage bull-owning at the tune of $44.8 million. That's for 1 year. That's not like for the life of the program. That's not like we're going to fund this for eternity. We'll never have to worry about it again. No, they're going to be back at the table next year doing the same thing over again. Are you kidding me? I mean, $20 million to support trials and research. You need $20 million to look up Google? We're dealing with people here that still can't figure out the difference between hemp and marijuana. But yet they want to go give somebody else, one of their buddies at the local university or science study lab, whatever it is their cousin owns, whatever it is, $20 million to go ahead and study it. Study it some more. It's been studied. It's been studied like no other plant on earth has ever been studied. The studies are available. They've been done by professional people, not by Jungle Joe. and we want to go ahead and give $20 million, $20 million to do some more study just this year. Just this year. Unbelievable. All right. And another thing is, like getting back to what we originally had said, that we wanted to have marijuana as a tax revenue generator. Not everybody said they wanted that, but there were a lot of folks out there that justified, or at least pushed that as a point of why cannabis could be a good thing in our communities. And it very well can be. It very well should be. But when your state is just going to blow it away back on themselves to do themselves, it isn't going to be a benefit to the people or to our state. It's no wonder that we can't have nice things in Michigan, because we blow it on stuff. All right? We're too busy packing people's pockets to pack our potholes. That's what's going on here. I've heard about different things in our budget that have been discussed. I've looked at in the past years our budget. I've seen things on there. I couldn't even tell you what it was. I don't even know, but there was millions of dollars going to it, and there it goes. But yet we still don't have enough money for the basic fundamentals that government services should be providing, whether that be police and fire, roads and schools. I mean, what else? What more is there? I mean, until our hospitals or until our doctors are somehow a part of the government, which probably will be some point, but they're not right now. It's still a private thing. It's still so. What else is government really supposed to do other than protect our country? I mean, yeah, I mean, and of course we could debate on how well they do any or one of these things, whether it's good or bad. But at any rate, those are the essentials. And we can't seem to get those things done here in Michigan because we have people who feel it's okay to be so incredibly bureaucratic and that they think this kind of thing is okay. This is preposterous. How do you spend $44.8 million on regulation? And think about this. I realize that there's been a lot of fees collected. I know that the state's done pretty well, if you will, in collecting fees from the medical marijuana program alone. All right. And then when you add in the Medical Marijuana Facilities Act, there's been a whole boatload more of fees that have been collected at the state level, and they seem to have done very well for themselves. That's great. But I bet you that those fees won't add up to $44.8 million. Are we running a deficit on this marijuana program? Has anybody checked the math to see, have we collected that much money yet? I know that they're predicting the stars and the moon. All right. I've seen the predictions on the billion-dollar industry that, marijuana is going to be in Michigan and the billions of dollars that they predict they're going to collect in taxes and fees and so on. And I'm sure they'll get a pretty share from it. But we're already spending a pretty share. We've got the horse in front of the cart. Or what is it? Cart in front of the horse. I mean, we're out there collecting, basically spending money. Hey, we're going to spend this next year. And realize that their budget is supposed to go online, November 1st? Is that right, John?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So if they approve, all things go well, whatever, we're going to start spending $44.8 million November 1st. And guess when we just start taking applications for the rec program? November 1st. So we're spending money, and we have yet to even collect it yet on the rec program. And on the MMFLA program, that's quite the expansion. 95 employees, $10.8 million just to administer that program. Plus another $3 million on the top for, operations and oversight. And I guess I would like to see some oversight on how that $20 million to support trials and research is done. Who's getting that money and how is that being used?
Well, okay, couldn't that better be served in the public sector? Okay, who is yammering now to get,
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I would just, if I were the governor, I would line item that thing right there, put a line right through it and say 20 million more for the roads right now. You want research on marijuana? start Googling it, sucker, because you got a year's worth of catching up to do.
Years. I mean, it's like one of the most researched drugs out there.
Unbelievable.
I mean, with so many really willing participants, any study you want to propose.
That would gladly hand books and reference material and anything you want, you know. And who's this information that we're researching supposed to go to? Who is it going to be benefiting? Why do we need to have this research? That's the other question I think that we need to ask. For what? What are the prepondering questions that need to be answered about cannabis that are so vital that we need to donate or delegate $20 million of our money to it? What are those questions that we have to have answered so badly? I would like to know what those questions are, because I bet you they've already been answered by legitimate people, not by the man in the woods. All right? But the man in the woods has at least got enough damn sense to know that this is bullshit, and $44.8 million to regulate marijuana is preposterous, and it's no wonder our state is freaking broke. This is, like I said at the beginning, a real small snapshot of how the rest of our state government works, of how the rest of our federal government works. It's, as the governor, I think she even used the words herself, pork belly, pork barrel spending. This is it right here. I know that there's going to be cost in regulating cannabis. I could certainly understand direct cost, you know, exactly what is it going to cost, so on. But you can see clearly just by the numbers they put out, they're just shooting numbers out there. These guys feel so free willy with your tax money that they just pluck numbers out of the sky and put it down on the budget to spend. And that's your money that they're spending like that. Foolhardily. Oh, just another $3 million on the top for oversight. Hey, Bob, how much you think we should, how much research you think we should be doing? Oh, I don't know. I mean, do you think 50 million's enough? Oh, that might be too much. It might be too much. Oh, 10's not enough. I mean, seriously, folks. Who just comes up with oh, you know what? We need 20 million. So, anyways, I want to share that with you guys this week. It obviously is upsetting, I think, to anybody who's watching or paying attention. And it goes against the premise of things. I mean, we're taking something that was previously illegal, right? And we had governmental cost involved in prohibiting that substance. We make it legal and tax people for it. It should go from like being a cost to being a big plus, and we're turning it into a liability, you know. And also, I would like to echo what Towley said last week. You know, the fact that marijuana isn't supposed to be a part of some big get-rich-fast money scheme. All right, it's a plant. It's supposed to be used for enjoyment and to help us all get along with each other a little bit better. So let's remember what it's for. Okay, even though the state clearly does not have a clue, never has and never will. All right, so all right, guys, thanks for joining me this week on the podcast. It's a blast to be with you here on the wonderful Flint Bike Trail at allpointstv.com. If you guys haven't been down to the Flint Bike Ride Thursday nights, you might want to check it out. Season's getting to an end there. But other than that, man, hey, John, do you have any fall cider donut favorite places you'd like to go to, you'd like to share with the club?
There's several. I mean, the standard when I was growing up, we always went to is Porter's.
Porter's.
Yeah, then there's that other one south of here on, was it 75, something like that, we went to. And there's like, but Porter's is like the standard because, I mean, it's been around since I was a kid.
Sure.
And I'm 56. I mean, and besides, I had a great aunt that lived in, that area of Goodrich. So that's the reason why, that's when I think of this time of year, that's what I think. Yeah.
Well, it's time. It's time for cider, donuts, football, fall cleanup, raking leaves, all that good stuff, sniffs and snivels. So you guys make sure you load up on your vitamin C too, okay? But anyways, hey, thanks for joining me this week on the Genesee County Compassion Club show. It's always a pleasure to be back here at the allpointstv.com. Make sure you check out their other podcast for good info. And you guys have a great week. Make sure you don't forget our important dates. And I do want to make sure, I almost forgot. We got this next weekend coming up here, Croptoberfest out at Auto City Speedway. This is going to be a killer event. It's like by the people, for the people. It's going to be an awesome all weekend event. If you guys aren't already vending out there, you make sure you tell your friends to go out there and have a great time. It's very affordable, and there's going to be all kinds of fun and good times out there. And you don't want to miss Croptoberfest. So check that out. You can check that out on Facebook too. So, all right, guys, have an awesome week. Try to stay warm and enjoy this wonderful fall weather. See you down at the G3C. Take care. I love you all. Bye.